Couple days ago, I made a video talking about the most surprising teams in the NHL so far. And the Chicago Blackhawks saw that they weren't included in that video and decided to put up 8 goals against the St. Louis Blues. But they're a team that I wanted to talk about in a full video because they've not just been exciting and fun to watch, they've really been elevating, I think, the future and the ceiling of this franchise. So let's talk about what's changed for the Chicago Blackhawks team and what could the future look like now with a lot of the star players starting to come together. Well, make sure you guys watch till the end as we break down everything here, and hit that subscribe button if you're new for more hockey content just like this all throughout the year. Now, obviously, there is still time for a lot of things to change, but through 5 games, the Blackhawks are 2-2-1 with 5 points through 5, and that would already be a pretty good improvement if we see that over the course of the year, them getting 82 points on the season. But it's not just the record that has impressed me for the Blackhawks so far, it's also their compete level, how much they've been able to stay in these games, provide a lot more defensive layers, and especially in the goaltending department, so much has improved year over year that it's hard to not be excited about the future of that core. Before the season, heading in, I thought Chicago would improve by a decent margin, but nothing all that crazy, finishing around 70 points or so, being a bit more respectable, but with how competitive the NHL was, still being near the basement. But so far, I think what the Chicago team has been proving is that not just the core is there, but the foundation is starting to arrive as well. One of the biggest things I've noticed from this team is just how much lighter they feel. They feel like they're free, they feel like they're having fun, and they feel like they're sticking up for each other when anything bad happens to each other. It's just a different feel when it comes to the Chicago team that has not been the case in years past with the constant misery they've had. This year, though, it seems like they just have a young group of buds just hanging out every single night, and you can feel that energy on the ice and just how much more connected they all feel. You even had quotes like this from Connor Bedard where he's going out and saying, "I like how we stood up for each other and I'm not going to take any crap." And I love to see that fieriness out of even the top end players like Bedard, but just throughout the rest of the team. It just feels like they have this energy that is palpable. And honestly, watching the game so far, you can see it. You can see that energy. And I'm going to be honest, I've never liked watching Chicago. They've always been my least favorite team. But just watching them this year, it's been so entertaining that I'm going to be honest, I'm starting to like this team just a little bit. It's a lot easier because they've been so bad for so long that they're kind of that underdog now, but they're showing what they are capable of. They're not just this little puppy anymore. They have the pieces to really overwhelm you now, and you're starting to see that come into place. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the top 2 scorers here for Chicago. Obviously, you got Connor Bedard, who I think looked especially good in that game versus St. Louis, making so many creative plays, got a bunch of assists, which was good to see out of him. But you have to talk about Frank Nazar when you're talking about the success of this Chicago team. Right before the season started, I put Frank Nazar on my fantasy team just as a hunch. I thought he could have a good year, but so far he has been absolutely destroying with 6 points in 5 games. But again, just like the Blackhawks record, it's not even just the points that are great, obviously, to see, but it's how they're playing, how much speed they're generating, how much intensity there is. I mean, Nazar is kind of the epitome of what this Blackhawks team has been this year. That fiery spirit, scoring and then getting in a scrum right after by knocking the goalie over and then selling right after. It's that type of take it to you mentality that the Blackhawks haven't had in a long time. I think Chicago's defense all around has looked much better than last year, but I think the biggest person that has improved year over year has been Wyatt Kaiser, who was somebody that was an RFA for a long time and almost headed into the season with an unsigned contract until the Blackhawks were able to make something happen. And thank goodness for both parties that they did, because Kaiser has looked unbelievable. I don't know where it's come from because I always thought he was an okay defenseman at the NHL level, but hasn't been able to truly explode. But I think he has just been on a different level so far this year. He only has 1 assist for 1 point in 5 games, but it's the defensive situations. It's the antagonistic play. Even though he's not the biggest defenseman in the world, how he uses that stick, how he uses that body. He's just been playing some of the best defensive hockey I've seen any Blackhawks defenseman play in a while. His start to the season has been just monumental for this team. And you also keep in mind that Kaiser has gone from about 18 minutes of average time on ice last year to 20 minutes of average time on ice this year, and it's a much bigger responsibility, and he's just absolutely demolishing it. I think the big difference was the confidence and actually using that skating in beneficial ways, and we're starting to see him really get that edge now at the NHL level. And this type of defenseman now is huge for that left side, because that was always kind of a question mark for me when it came to Chicago's defense going forward, was how is that left side going to handle? I knew that Levchnov, Renzel, those 2 guys would be massive parts of the team, but were prospects like Kaiser able to jump into major roles? And so far they have. But I can't really talk about the success of the Chicago team and just how much they've looked better year over year if I didn't mention Spencer Knight and just how good he has been so far this season. And this was my biggest question about Chicago heading into the year. If they were going to see massive improvement, was it going to be because of the goaltending? Because that's probably the most important position for Chicago long term, considering they didn't have somebody that was absolutely locked as the number one. You had Comesso, you had Knight. We weren't really sure how much that was going to handle, but I think Knight has really shown himself well and has shown himself as probably the future starter in net for Chicago. Not even future, he is the starter now for them. But that was always my biggest concern. Was Knight able to have the breakout season that I thought he was capable of? And so far, I think he's played up to that level. In 3 games, he's at a 2.35 goals against average, a 920 save percentage, and through those 3 games has been one of the best goaltenders in goals saved above expected, 6th among all NHL goaltenders, and that is such a huge improvement, not just in terms of what he was doing last year with Chicago. I thought he looked pretty decent there, but just in terms of Chicago's goaltending, the team-wide, they needed somebody like this to just take the reins, take the bull by the horns, and really command that net. Knight has been able to do that. Soderblom's also okay too, but I think Knight, showing what he's shown so far, has been one of the biggest differences for me when it comes to optimism about the Chicago team. If you don't have your goaltender, if you don't have your starter locked in, you can never really be too sure about being a perennial playoff team or even a cup contender. But having somebody like Knight, still as young as he is at 24 years old, is just massive. And hopefully he's going to able to continue this throughout the course of the season and play a full, pretty good starter amount of games. Hopefully around 50 or so, looking pretty good. That would be the hope. Now, it is also the elephant in the room, but we do have to give some credit here to new head coach in Jeff Blashill, somebody that I was a pretty big doubter on considering his time in Detroit, but he was also a first-time head coach, and it seemed like that whole tenure, he was just kind of overstimulated. In Chicago, though, it seems like he's learned his lessons pretty well, and even though he has a lot less to work with than he even did in Detroit, he's using the most with it, staying pretty consistent with the lineups, and I think the matchups have also been pretty good too. But just instilling this sense of speed and tenacity into this team, it comes from Blashill's style here, and it's really translated well. I wasn't really sure if there'd be much of it with him in Chicago, but so far it's worked out pretty well, and I think what he's been able to instill, what he's been able to bring, as well as just the maturity he's brought to this tenure so far with Chicago, has been a breath of fresh air. He's been exactly what the doctor ordered for this Blackhawks team, and hopefully that's able to continue. I'm rooting for him, though, because of how disastrous it ended in Detroit. I'm hoping he gets that redemption here with the Blackhawks. Now, before we keep going, let's talk about MyBookie, the sponsor of today's video. It is a monumental time to be a sports fan with the NFL, college football, college hockey, the MLB playoffs, and of course the NHL season fully underway and as crazy as it is. And with so many upsets, surprises, and major comebacks, MyBookie lets you hit it all. Now, I will say I'm a bit of a sicko because I do like going into every single day, seeing which new NHL games are coming up, who the favorites might be, and what the odds might say about it. And with MyBookie, you can go through every single game with the over-under, the spreads, and the winners as well, giving you just a lot of options to make your picks. The best part about MyBookie is that if you're new, you can use promo code GRAVITE, and any bet you choose up to $500 is fully covered. All you need to do to get started is hit the link in the description down below. That'll take you to my Instagram, and then you can click the link in my bio to go to MyBookie to sign up. And a major thank you to MyBookie for sponsoring today's video, the best place to make your bets during this crazy, hectic hockey season. When I look at this Blackhawks future, try to project it out, even just throughout this rest of the season, I don't think it matters how many games they lose or win throughout the rest of the year. What they were able to prove so far this year, and hopefully throughout the rest of the season, is that they have that fiery spirit. They are going to get in the fight, and they aren't going to take anything. No bullcrap at all. And that is exactly the type of progression that Chicago needed. I wasn't even, quite frankly, expecting it to happen this season, but the fact it's already happening 5 games in is about as good of news as you could possibly get for them. Honestly, what I was expecting was a marginal improvement in the standings, but for a lot of individual players to look good. A lot of those younger guys to step into big roles and look solid on their own, but that not really to translate to very competitive games or much team spirit yet. But my goodness, they just look so connected, and it's pretty fun to watch. They've become instantly one of my most fun teams to watch in the entire NHL. I've been adoring watching them, especially that game versus St. Louis. Just absolutely insane hockey, but that type of spirit is just, it's on the level of contending teams. It's something that I love to see out of younger teams, and right now Chicago absolutely has it. Still a lot of hockey to be played, of course, but all I know is that this Blackhawks team has become must-watch TV game after game, and you know what? That type of progression, that type of excitement is something that they have sorely lacked, sorely needed, and they have it now, which is just really weird to say, but my goodness, this Blackhawks core is just a ton of fun. But those are my thoughts on how Chicago has looked so far this year, a team that has a lot to prove and is starting to prove it now. But I want to know in the comments down below what your thoughts have been on the Blackhawks so far this year. Do you agree? Do you disagree with me? How do you think their rest of the season will go? Do you think they could be a sneaky playoff team? What do you think about their core long term? All those thoughts, let me hear them down below. And of course, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and the notification bell if you haven't already, and share the video with all the hockey fans you guys know online. Plus, a big shout out to the channel members here for supporting the channel all throughout. If you just want to put a couple bucks a month, you get exclusive videos every single week, plus exclusive member polls and exclusive emoji as well to use in the chat and comments down below. And it's a great way to support the channel. All of the members here will have their names up on the screen, and a big shout out to them. But that'll be it for me. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a fantastic hockey day, and goodbye.